cosmological space. The landscape of the Feywild mirrors the natural world, but turns its features into spectacular forms. Where a volcano stands on the material plane, a mountain topped with skyscraper-sized crystals that glow with internal fire towers in the Feywild. A wide, muddy river on the material plane might be echoed as a clear and winding brook of great beauty. A marsh could be reflected as a vast black bog of sinister character. And moving to the Feywild from old ruins of the material plane might put a traveler at the door of an archfey's castle. The Feywild is inhabited by sylvan creatures, such as elves, dryads, satyrs, pixies, and sprites, as well as centaurs and magical creatures, such as blink dogs, fairy dragons, treants, and unicorns. The darker regions of the plane are home to such malevolent creatures as hags, blights, goblins, ogres, and giants. Okay, Seelie and Unseelie Fey. We've got a little bit of a description here. 2 queens hold court in the Feywild, and most Fey owe allegiance to one or the other. Queen Titania and her summer court lead the Seelie Fey, and the Queen of Air and Darkness, ruler of the gloaming court, leads the Unseelie Fey. Seelie and Unseelie do not directly correlate with good and evil, though many mortals make that equation. Many Seelie Fey are good, and many Unseelie are evil. But their opposition to each other stems from their queen's jealous rivalry, not abstract moral concerns. Ugly denizens of the Feywild, such as Fomorians and hags, are almost never members of either court, and Fey of independent spirit reject the courts entirely. The courts have warred at times, but they also compete in more or less friendly contests and even ally with one another in small and secret ways. Okay? Fey crossings. Okay, Fey crossings are places of mystery and beauty on the material plane that have a near-perfect mirror in the Feywild, creating a portal where the 2 planes touch. A traveler passes through a Fey crossing by entering a clearing, wading into a pool, stepping into a circle of mushrooms, or crawling under the trunk of a tree. To the traveler, it seems like he or she has simply walked into the Feywild with a step. To an observer, the traveler is there one moment, and gone the next. Like other portals between planes, most Fey crossings open infrequently. A crossing might open only during a full moon, on the dawn of a particular day, or for someone carrying a certain type of item. A Fey crossing can be closed permanently if the land on either side is dramatically altered. For example, if a castle is built over the clearing on the material plane. Okay, optional rules. Feywild magic. Okay, tales speak of children kidnapped by Fey creatures and spirited away to the Feywild, only to return to their parents years later without having aged a day, and with no memories of their captors, or the realm they came from. Likewise, adventurers who return from an excursion to the Feywild are often alarmed to discover, upon their return, that time flows differently on the plane of fairy, and that the memories of their visit are hazy. You can use these optional rules to reflect the strange magic that suffuses the plane. Memory loss. A creature that leaves the Feywild must make a DC 10 Wisdom saving throw. Fey creatures automatically succeed on the saving throw, as do any creatures like elves that have the Fey ancestry trait. A creature that fails the saving throw remembers nothing from its time spent in the Feywild. On a successful save, the creature's memories remain intact, but are a little hazy. Any spell that can end a curse can restore the creature's lost memories. Time warp. While time seems to pass normally in the Feywild, characters might spend a day there and realize upon leaving the plane that less or more time has elapsed everywhere else in the multiverse. Whenever a creature or group leaves the Feywild after spending at least one day on that plane, you can choose a time change that works best for your campaign, if any, or roll on the Feywild time warp table. A wish spell can be used to remove the effect up to 10 creatures. Some powerful Fey have the ability to grant such wishes, and might do so if the beneficiaries agree to subject themselves to a Gaius spell and complete a quest after the wish spell is cast. Okay, so the Feywild time warp, you roll a d20, you get 1 to 2, days become minutes. If you get 3 to 6, days become hours. If you get 7 to 13, no change. 14 to 17, days become weeks. 18 to 19, days become months. 20, days become years. Okay. Shadowfell. Alright, we're on our last plane for today. Shadowfell. Riven stood in the uppermost room of the central tower of his citadel, a fortress of shadows and dark stone carved in relief into the sheer face of a jagged peak. The starless black vault of the plain sky hung over a landscape of gray and black, where lived the dark simulacra of actual things. Shadows and wraiths and specters and ghosts and other undead hung in the air around the citadel, or prowled the foothills and plains near it, so numerous their glowing eyes looked like swarms of fireflies. He felt the darkness in everything he could see, felt it as an extension of himself, and the feeling made him too big by half. Paul S. Kemp, The Godborn. The Shadowfell, also called the Plane of Shadow, is a dimension of black, gray, and white, where most other color has been leached from everything. It is a place of darkness that hates the light, where the sky is a black vault with neither sun nor stars. The Shadowfell overlaps the material plane in much the same way as the Feywild. Aside from the colorless landscape, it appears similar to the material plane. Landmarks from the material plane are recognizable on the Shadowfell, but they are twisted and warped, distorted reflections of what exists in the material plane. Does this sound familiar? This is like Stranger Things. Where a mountain stands on the material plane, the corresponding feature on the Shadowfell is a jagged rock outcropping with a resemblance to a skull, a heap of rubble, or perhaps the crumbling ruin of a once great castle. A forest on the Shadowfell is dark and twisted, its branches reaching out to snare travelers' cloaks, and its roots coiling and buckling to trip those who pass by. Shadow dragons and undead creatures haunt this bleak plain, as do other creatures that thrive in the gloom, including cloakers and dark mantles. Okay? Shadow crossings. Similar to Fey crossings, shadow crossings are locations where the veil between the material plane and the Shadowfell is so thin that creatures can walk from one plane to another. A blot of shadow in the corner of a dusty crypt might be a shadow crossing, as might an open grave. Shadow crossings form in gloomy places where spirits or the stench of death lingers, such as battlefields, graveyards, and tombs. They manifest only in darkness, closing as soon as they feel light's kiss. Domains of dread. In remote corners of the Shadowfell, it is easy to reach horrific demiplanes ruled by accursed beings of terrible evil. The best known of these is the Valley of Barovia, overlooked by the towering spires of Castle Ravenloft and ruled by Count Strahd von Zarovich, the first vampire. Beings of the Shadowfell, called the Dark Powers, created these domains as prisons for these dark lords, and through cruelty or carelessness trapped innocent mortals in these domains as well. Okay, optional rule for Shadowfell despair. A melancholic atmosphere pervades the Shadowfell. Extended forays to this plane can afflict characters with despair, as reflected in this optional rule. When you deem it appropriate, though usually not more than once per day, you can require a character not native to the Shadowfell to make a DC 10 Wisdom saving throw. On a failure, the character is affected by despair. Roll a d6 to determine the effects, using the Shadowfell despair table. You can substitute different despair effects of your own creation. Okay, so the Shadowfell despair table. You roll a d6. 1 to 3, apathy. The character has disadvantage on death saving throws and on dexterity checks for initiative and gains the following flaw. I don't believe I can make a difference to anyone or anything. Okay. 4 to 5, dread. The character has disadvantage on all saving throws and gains the following flaw. I'm convinced that this place is going to kill me. 6, madness. The character has disadvantage on ability checks and saving throws that use intelligence, wisdom, or charisma and gains the following flaw. I can't tell what's real anymore.
It's dangerous.
Yeah. If a character is already suffering a despair effect and fails the saving throw, the new despair effect replaces the old one. After finishing a long rest, a character can attempt to overcome the despair with a DC 15 wisdom saving throw. The DC is higher because it's harder to shake off despair once it's taken hold. On a successful save, the despair effect ends for that character. A calm emotion spell removes despair, as does any spell or other magical effect that removes a curse. Okay, and then we've got a side note here, and this is the last portion before we end. The side note is Evernight. The city of Neverwinter in the world of the Forgotten Realms has a dark reflection on the Shadowfell, the city of Evernight. Evernight is a city of cracked stone edifices and homes of rotten wood. Its roads are made mostly of trampled grave dust, and its few cobbled streets are missing enough stones that they appear pockmarked. The sky is corpse gray, and the breeze blows cold and humid, bringing a chill to the skin. The city's living residents include mad necromancers, corrupt purveyors of human flesh, worshippers of evil deities, and others who are able to make themselves useful and crazy enough to want to live here. But the living are a minority in Evernight, for the bulk of the population consists of the shambling dead. Zombies, wights, vampires, and other undead make the city their home, all under the watchful eyes of the ruling caste, intelligent flesh-eating ghouls. Rumors abound that this foul place mirrors one city on every world. Okay, we have powered through it. High five, my son. Boom. That was a serious. Why'd you hesitate there? High five?
I said you were going to do it.
Let's do it again. was a serious high five again. One more. Oh! All right. Bless you guys. That was awesome.